I took my fiance home to meet my family and left with no fiance. I, 30 female, got engaged in March of this year to E, 31 male, that I have been dating for the last 3 years. It was heavenly bliss until I introduced him to my family. We went home to meet my family, and it was important for him to get their blessing. I didn't care either way, but I did it to make him happy. Everyone was welcoming of him and seemed genuinely happy for us. Before the trip was over, my eldest brother suggested a sibling/partners camping trip in a cabin up north to bond and get to know my fiance away from our parents. I was reluctant as I typically didn't spend this much time back home, but eventually agreed. The trip was going well, so I let my guard down and decided to enjoy being in the mountains with my siblings. However, the day before the trip was over, everything changed. My sister and her husband were on their 17th argument of the day, and it was only 11 a.m. Her husband stormed out and she stayed there, just crying. I don't do well with other people's emotions, so I suggested a hike to clear everyone's head. My fiance suggested that us siblings go so that my sister could talk freely if she needed to. I asked if he was sure, and he stated that he just checked some emails while we were out. Early on the hike, my sister said that she just wanted to go home. I offered to walk her back, but she said she wanted to clear her mind. We continued our hike and she went back to the cabin. After the hike, my brother and his wife wanted to explore, but I just wanted to shower, so I headed back to the cabin. My sister's car was still outside, even though it was a couple hours later in the day. I ignored it and went inside. I heard soft moans coming from upstairs and then a familiar grunt. Oh no, I was not thinking this was gonna go this way. I went upstairs only to see my fiance and my sister together in the worst way. Something broke inside of me. I took a pic of what I saw, quietly grabbed my things, and left my ring on the counter. I left, sent the picture to the family group chat, and I turned my phone off. The next day, I had 47 missed calls from my family and 75 plus texts from my fiance. Apparently, her husband got the text as he was returning to the cabin and wasn't so kind to my fiance. Initially, I felt justified in my actions. I hated it, but I did. However, I know now that even though what they did was terrible, what I did was wrong too. Sending that picture to the family chat was gross, and the innocent family members didn't deserve to get dragged into that. My engagement is over. I removed myself from the family group chat, and I haven't spoken to anyone about it since. These last few months have just felt so empty. I just want to move past this, but I don't know how.
This has got to be one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to me. Story time. So 3 years ago, I started to rent a spare room in my best friend's house, and it was like their family home. And this house only had one bathroom, which was never really an issue up until this night. About 4 a.m, I wake up, it hits me. Fire in the belly, bubbly stomach, it's all about to go horribly wrong. I run to the bathroom and I'm thinking no one's going to be in the bathroom at this time, this is going to be easy, in, out, drop the bomb, go. No, 4 a.m, bathroom's occupied. Guess who's in it? Best friend's dad. We'll call him Steve. I'm thinking, Steve, man, don't break my heart, Steve, get out. And I was not about to knock. There was no way I was knocking. The embarrassment would be too much. So I turn back. I think I'll just wait it out. I go back to my bedroom, sit on the edge of the bed. My legs are quivering. The pain is getting so bad. I went from legs shaking to now wanting to vomit. It was going one or the other. So that was when I looked out the window and just saw the back garden. So I got out to the back garden, but there's dogs out there and I was so scared that I was going to go out, pants down, doing my business. The dogs were going to start barking and then someone was going to come out to the garden to see what was going on and just see me like in a compromised position. And then I thought, well, I'll have to go to the front of the house. It was dark and scary out there in like their front garden, but they had a porch. And they had a porch swing. And I was like, that's my location. X marks the spot. I practically ran at the porch swing, pulling my trousers down as I went. Now listen, when I say I have never felt as much relief as I did in that moment, I mean it. It was like I could see in HD again. There would be no worries in my life ever again. So I'd taken some paper towels with me. I sorted myself out and I was like, I'll water it down in the morning because I didn't want to turn the water on and then again make some noise and someone come out seeing me flushing. So the next morning rolls around. Let's play a game of guess what I forgot to do. So the next morning I go to work without a care in the world. And then at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whilst I was on my lunch break, it hit me. And I couldn't stop thinking about it all day. I was hoping and praying all day that no one had noticed it. I was thinking, right, as soon as I get home, it's all right, I can just wash it away, not a problem. No one would ever know. I walk over to where I left the crime scene. It was gone. I was mortified. I just walked straight to my room, looking no one in the eye. So then I get a text from my best friend whose house I'm living in, And she's like, do you want to come join us on the porch? We're having a couple of drinks. The porch. I go down to meet them and I sit on the bench right next to my best friend. We're all chatting, we're all having a couple of drinks. And all of a sudden my best friend Amy's like, oh my God, you will not guess what's happened today. And my heart dropped. I instantly knew what she was going to say. No, I didn't, because what came out of her mouth next shook me to my core. So she tells me that her and her partner had gone out to have breakfast on the porch swing that morning. And she tells me that as they are eating breakfast, they're playing fetch with the dog. So she's got a puppy, and you know when puppies are quiet for a little bit too long, that it's probably something mischievous that's happening. Her puppy had gone quiet, and she turns around to see her puppy under the porch swing. She realised that the puppy was smelling something. Before she could even get to say to her dog to get away from it, the dog started to roll in it. Grabbed the dog as quick as she could, and her boyfriend Steve went to go grab the water hose to spray the dog down. Then her boyfriend goes, something took a poop in their yard, and it didn't smell like animal poop. A human had done one on the porch, which was news to me. They both went on for the best part of half an hour, telling me all about the situation, and even added the details that whilst they were washing the dog down, the dog began to shake and all of the poop water went all over them, all up their arms. She's showing me how much of her arm is spread with shit. Mum, I'm so sorry if you're watching this. At this point, I was pretty much dead inside. I was holding the best poker face I've ever held in my life, trying not to make any suspicious facial expressions. I'm like, yeah, fuck, no way, that's so disgusting, who will do that? And I'm sat there like, it's me, I'm the animal. It has been years since this happened, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of feels good to get it off my chest.
First day back in New York City, what do I receive? A strange DM that says, from a random man that says, hi, I was hoping to get my rug and possibly mail back from your apartment. Well, I'm confused. Who are you? Who are you, random man? I gave my key to my friend while I was in Florida, and she, quote, stayed here for maybe 4 days, she said. 4 days max. Well, turns out, sorry, I have to fix my hair. Turns out she then gave my key to some random guy who I have no idea who this man is. He could be a lovely person, I'll give you that. But he stayed here. This is just so absurd. He stayed in my house for a month. And I had no idea. I'm tearing up because it's a little bewildering. It's a little scary. This random ass man stayed in my house. I was not aware of such things happening. And what's really crazy, I don't know if you guys remember, I came back to New York for like literally 1 day last month because I was really missing home. I was in Florida. I really wanted to see my people, whatever. So I came back to New York. And when I came into my apartment, my entire bedroom furniture was rearranged. And I texted her and I was like, hey, I just wondering, like, I'm just making sure, this is what I said. I was just making sure that you are the only person that's been in this apartment because my bedroom furniture is completely rearranged. And she said, quote, oh, yes, that was me. So sorry, I forgot to put it back. That was 100% me. No one else has been in the apartment. I believed her because I thought she was my friend. Well, turns out it was Mr. Little Random Man who rearranged my bedroom and God knows what else he did in here. My sister said I should get a black light, and I told my friends that, and they were like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Because what the fuck? Who else was in this house? And you know what's even worse? Now I have to change my locks. I have to change my locks because this man could have a copy of my key right now. Who the fuck knows? And if you're watching this, Mr. Man, I have pepper spray and another discreet weapon near my bed. So go for it. Really, try it. Don't try it. But like, if you would, I would be prepared. So this shit is crazy. A random man has been in my house for the last month and I had no fucking idea. Welcome back to New York City. I made a little realization. I texted Miss Sophie Jones when I was coming back to the city for a couple days. I was like, oh yeah, I just need a break or something. And I bet she texted him and was like, you better get your ass out of there quick. And that's why my furniture was not put back, because he scurried away and I came home.
So today is 11 months since my 15-year-old daughter passed away, and I wanted to share a story with you guys of something that happened a few months ago, and I'm gonna really try hard to get through it without crying, but I'm gonna tell you right now I'm probably gonna cry. So a few months back, I was sleeping and I had this dream, and in this dream I'm in a house, like a really big house, and my whole family is there. So like my mom, my dad, all my siblings, my husband, all of our kids, right? And they're all surrounding somebody, and I'm walking up to them and I see that they are surrounding Savannah in the dream, and she looked so beautiful, right? Like she's like glowing. She looked really healthy. Here I go. And she's saying hi to everybody. Everybody's so excited, you know, and she's giving everybody hugs, and they're just like, oh my God, like you're here. And so she finishes giving a hug to my mom, and then she looks at me and she does this like little shimmy dance where she's like, looks at me and she's like, hey, like this, and she comes over to me and she gives me this really huge hug, and I could feel her and I could smell her. God, I remember this like it was yesterday. And then she goes like this and she says something so specific to me, to the point where like when I woke up, I wrote it down, right? And it was so beautiful. And so she goes like this and she says, I just want to let you know that God loves you so much, and I love you so much, Mom, and I miss you. And boom, I woke up. Just woke up, and I started crying as soon as I woke up. I wrote it down because it was so specific, and I was like, whoa, did that just happen? And like telling my husband about it, I'm like, oh my God, like I haven't had a dream like that since, but it was so beautiful. And it was during a time when I was really, my faith was really shaken. I do believe in God, and my whole ideology is just like, be a good person and try to treat people nicely. And if you make a mistake, all you can do is just try to do the next right thing. Like, nobody's perfect, right? I know I am not perfect. I'm far from it. But so I'm questioning everything. And then I have this dream where like, she's in it. Like, and she was perfect. And then she said that to me. Oh man. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. And also I don't want to forget about it, so I wanted to make a video about it.
Tell y'all the story about how I got pregnant at 13. Just a disclaimer before I start. I know that a lot of people are going to be asking. Yes, I kept my son. He's in the living room watching Mickey Mouse, and he'll be 2 in May. Okay, so there might have to be a few parts, but I just want to start off by saying that I was a very bad tween. I was literally 12 years old, and I was very bad. I was getting high and fighting, not going to school, running away, and yeah. So I had been talking to this boy, which is now my baby daddy. We didn't meet until like 6 months of us talking on the phone, and I finally got up enough courage to go and meet him on his 15th birthday. His birthday is on July 4th, so we went and watched fireworks. So from the beginning, my dad did not like him. He was very disrespectful, and he was just really not a good person, and he's still really not a good person. But I was in love with him. I thought I was in love with him, and my dad still let me go over there and just like hang out and stuff. But then there was an incident where him and my dad got in an argument, and my dad completely banned me from going and hanging out with him. Me being the bad little kid that I was, I made a plan with him while I was at school to run away. So when I got home, I didn't say anything to my dad. I went upstairs, packed a little bag, and literally just walked out of the house. I walked about 5 minutes down the road to some lady's house. I left my phone at home because my dad had Life 360 with me, and obviously I didn't want him to know where I was going. So I walked down to this lady's house that I did not know. It was literally a random old lady. I told her that I just got off the school bus and I was logged out of my house and I didn't have my phone. And I asked if I could use her phone to call my brother to come pick me up from her house. She said yes, and I called my baby daddy, and he had his best friend come pick me up on a moped. Keep in mind, he literally lives like 30 minutes from where I lived. He lived in a whole different town. So later that night, my dad got really worried about me, obviously, because he hadn't seen me since I left. He didn't say anything to me when I left because I normally just went out and hung out with my friends that lived in my neighborhood. But after it got dark and I wasn't answering, and then he found my phone in my room, he made a Facebook post that went viral. It literally had like over 500 shares on it. Saying that I was a runaway. So after the Facebook post went viral, my baby daddy's mom ended up seeing it on Facebook, and I lied to her and said that my dad was very abusive to me, which he was not. My dad wouldn't even whoop me, not even when I was little. But I lied to her, and she basically like held me. My dad knew where I was, like he wasn't an idiot, because just 2 days before that, me and him had gotten an argument because he banned me from going to see him. So one night when I was still on the run, he came over to my baby daddy's house. It was really late, and he stood by his window and like tried to see if he could hear me inside, which he ended up hearing me, and he called the cops. The cops came, and they all basically lied for me, said that I was not there. The cops couldn't really do nothing because there wasn't a warrant and I wasn't actually a runaway. My dad had just posted it on Facebook telling people to like watch for me. So the cops ended up leaving, and my dad stayed trying to get me back. He finally gave up, went home, and then about a week later came back trying to get me back, and he called the cops again. I finally was just kind of like, I'm not gonna do this to this poor family, like having the cops come to their house every week because of me. So I just came out and went home with my dad after that. But after that, me and my dad's relationship was basically ruined. I thought my life was over. He took my phone. I never got that phone back. I ended up having to buy a new phone. Like, I didn't have a phone for months before I bought a new phone. But our relationship was pretty much not there anymore. My dad was going through a really hard time even before this with addiction. So yeah. So with all of his problems going on, we ended up losing lights and our hot water. At that point, my dad felt like he wasn't giving me the best life that he could, and he's seen how my baby daddy's family treated me. They bought me clothes, food, shampoo, conditioner. They did everything for me. So for some reason he felt like they could give me a better life than he could. So he ended up actually letting me live there for a while. But the bad part about that was, like I said, they lived in a whole different town, so I stopped going to school altogether. CPS got called on me for not going to school. Nobody knew where I was at. So CPS was looking for me for about a year. I never knew that they were looking for me because nobody had tried to get in contact with my dad because they were also looking for him. We had no address. It was basically like we were homeless. While CPS was looking for me, I found out that I was pregnant. I found out because me and my baby daddy's moms, our periods were like in sync with each other because that's just kind of how it works when you're around somebody so much. She asked me if I was on my period, and she asked me if I needed her to go get me tampons. And that's when I really started to realize like I haven't had my period in like almost 2 months. So I told my baby daddy that, and he told his mom, and they went to CVS and got me a box of pregnancy tests. Sure enough, when I took them, they were positive. I walked out the bathroom crying and went straight into my baby daddy's room and told him. His parents were in the kitchen, and the bathroom is like in the kitchen, so when they seen me walk out, they already knew. We told his parents, and then I called my sister, told my sister. I then told my dad. I couldn't really tell my mom, like, call her and tell her because she was in jail, so I had to wait for her to call me. I think she called me like 2 days later, and I had to tell her. She was so disappointed. Like, I honestly thought my dad was gonna kill me. No, my mom was gonna kill me. My dad was actually really excited. He was, not excited, because like it's your 13-year-old daughter, but He didn't want me to get an abortion. He wanted to support me and be there for me and the baby. So I found out I was pregnant early October, like October 2nd. We got a crib, we got everything that we needed. We set up my baby daddy's room and decorated it and baby stuff. We bought so much clothes, and I was literally in my first trimester still. And then January 6th, my mom called me, January 6th of 2022. My mom called me and told me that a caseworker from CPS wanted to talk to me. We did not come out and tell the media that we were pregnant because I didn't want CPS to get involved. Like I said before, CPS was already looking for me way before I got pregnant for not going to school. They did not want to talk to me though. They wanted to take me from my baby daddy's house and place me in foster care, and I did not know that. They came to his house, gave me a trash bag, and gave me 10 minutes to get all of me and the baby stuff out of the house. They were so confused. They did not know I was pregnant, but then they later found out that day. I wasn't really worried about it. I knew I wasn't going to go into I thought I wasn't going to go into foster care because I had family that would take me in, but none of my immediate family could pass any of the background checks or drug tests.
Last night, me and my friends had the fabulous idea to go watch the new Mean Girls movie. Now, if you have ever wanted to share the same desire to cut off your ears just like Van Gogh, then this movie is 100% for you. Never in my life have I ever wanted to be blind and deaf just like Helen Keller until I was in that movie theater. Let me just shut up about this cinematic monstrosity and get to the point though. My friends and I were in our seats waiting for the movie to begin when I look at my phone and I see that I got a text from one of my friends who I was with. Boyfriend. Now, me and her boyfriend have some major, humongous beef. Why? Because her boyfriend is a lying, conniving little rat. But that's not the point. The point is, though, that it was very out of the ordinary for me to be receiving a text from him. Call me George, but my curiosity got the best of me, and I opened this text up right away. And her boyfriend had texted me, do you know why the guy you're talking to, we'll call him John, do you know why John got kicked out of his old school? And for context, I knew that John had gone to a different school his freshman year than he had his sophomore year, but he told me that it was just because he didn't like his original school. There was no mention of getting kicked out. However, if you watched my previous video, you would know that John has a tendency to keep things to himself. Now, the way that my friend's boyfriend had phrased the question, I didn't know if he was asking me if I knew and could enlighten him on what the answer was, or if he knew and he wanted to see if I knew. So I told him, no, I don't know. Why did he get kicked out? Unfortunately, the question type was the latter of the two, and my friend's boyfriend took no time in informing me that the guy I was talking to, John, had used Isascu's favorite word while in school. And just in general, like using the word is just like I don't know about y'all, but if you should not be social legally using that word, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to be associated with you. I don't want to know you. Like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. However, like I previously mentioned, my friend's boyfriend is a lying, conniving rat. And as reliable as a source as Discovery Channel on April 1st. So, yes, I doubted that what he was saying could easily not be true. At this point, I was very unsure of who to believe, what to think. So I went and I texted one of John's friends who I was also kind of friends with, I mean I still am, but obviously there's a rift. And I was like, so what's the real reason that John got kicked out of his old school? John's friend responded a few minutes later and was like, he said some things about the school that he shouldn't have. No, please, be more vague. So I was like, did he say the N-word? His friend was like, yeah, he sort of did. Sort of? What? Anyways, that's a nerve for me, so I went in, I left him on open, and he has now officially been on open for 15 hours. So if you were the guy who I was talking to but randomly ghosted, it's the way you act.
Story time about how my best friend punched me in the face just to impress a group of boys. A little background information. My best friend did not have a lot of experience with boys. Once she did start talking to boys, this girl did a personality switch as soon as a boy walked into a room. She would usually just act a little bit more of like a pick-me, but never like make fun of me in front of the boys. Well, the one night we went to this party. Her and I liked the same guy, which is always a recipe for disaster. But to make sure that there were no issues, we both decided that whoever he liked would get him. Majority of the night, he ends up talking to me. And I didn't really think that there was a problem because she seemed like she was fine with it. Until a little bit later, I hear her screaming, "I want to fight someone." She's like, "Brad, do you know that she can't fight?" He's like, "Oh, you can't fight?" And he goes, "I think you two should fight right now." So then I'm like, "I'm not doing this." And she goes, "No, I think Brad's right. I think we should fight." So then I'm like, "Okay, well, you can have fun fighting somebody else because I'm leaving." She runs outside, grabs me by my hair, and punches me in the face. And just literally actually just beats the shit out of me. I did end up pressing charges on her, but moral of the story, don't be best friends with girls who don't know how to act around men.
Storytime about how his side chick showed up to my house only to find out that I was also a side chick. Finding out there was a second side chick made me vomit. You might just hate me by the time this story time is over, but hear me out. I'm 27 years old and I live with my parents. When I was 19 years old, I was SA'd. More specifically, I was raped. This basically turned me into a hermit. In other words, I could not leave my house and I could not be alone. My parents did their best to help me out. They even got me therapy, even though they actually don't believe in therapy. And thankfully, therapy did help. After about 3 years, I was able to go out on my own, and I was able to get a job. I started hanging out with my friends again, and I even decided to go back to school. This meant I was constantly busy. I actually landed a pretty good job, which meant that I was making some money, and my parents asked me if I wanted to move out. This to me was like my worst nightmare. There was no way I wanted to live by myself, but I appreciated the fact that my parents knew it would be the best thing for me. I actually did end up moving out for like 2 months, but I ran straight back home after one night I heard somebody knock on my door and then they were gone. My parents, of course, accepted me back into their house, and since then I haven't left. A few years after that, I graduated from school and I wanted to open up my own little business. My best friend and I went ahead and started our own business, and it was pretty successful. We were making cakes and a whole bunch of different things, and we basically catered to private parties. During this time, I started meeting a lot more people. And I also started getting hit on by a few of my clients, but I never went for anybody. My parents tried to convince me to open up to somebody, but I just couldn't. It was almost physically impossible for me to do that. Obviously because of my history, but also because a lot of these guys were super forward. They didn't care I was catering for their party. They just wanted to get my number right away. It obviously turned me off, so that was not going to happen. But one day I show up to a catering job and I meet him. And he is so polite, so sweet, and such a gentleman. But there was only one problem. He was married. Now, I'd love to tell you that his wife was a bitch, or that she was mean to him, or something like that. But nope, she was perfectly sweet and really beautiful too. After catering the party, he actually got my number because he needed to pay me. And this is when things just started happening. He asked me a question about some of the cupcakes that we served. I shared a recipe with him, and after that it was almost on a weekly basis that he would reach out and ask me something. Eventually it went from him asking me things to asking about me, and at first I was definitely questioning why he would ask me things, but my mom told me that he was probably interested in me. And as bad as it sounds, yes, he was married. My mom was encouraging me to talk to him. I think at this point, my parents were just so desperate for me to find somebody that they didn't care if he was a married man. His wife and him actually used my catering service again, and I was able to see him after a few months. During the catering event, he took it upon himself to help me and my friend. He helped us unload the car and helped us in the setup. It was after this that he reached out and asked me if I wanted to get a coffee. I went, and then my life changed. He basically opened up to me and told me that he was really unhappy in his marriage, and that for the first time, he was feeling something for somebody. Me. I know it sounds terrible because he's married, but for the first time, I was feeling something for somebody after so long. I didn't want to just let it go. When he asked me if he could see me again, I said yes. And we became friends. And after that, we became lovers. He also became my best friend. And he also gave me the confidence to start doing more things on my own. Other than my parents, I never had anybody encourage me to do anything on my own. It made me feel like he had my best interest at heart. Months are going by and I'm falling more and more in love with him. After a while, I asked him if he wanted to be honest with his wife about our relationship, and he said no. He said that if they ever were to divorce, that he would lose a lot of money. And he also had kids and he didn't want to hurt them, so I just let it go. This is when I started noticing that he was acting strange, and he stopped trying to see me every single day. He started seeing me about 3 times a week. Then one day, a girl shows up to my house. Young and pretty like me. In fact, she looked a lot like me. He obviously has a type. She knocks on my door, and as soon as I open, she starts yelling. Then she tells me that she's seeing my boyfriend and that I need to break up with him because she's in love with him. At first, I thought she was confused. I was convinced she had the wrong house. That is until she pulled out her phone and started showing me pictures of them together. Pictures in compromising positions. My stomach started to hurt so bad I actually had to sit down on the floor. This is when she realized that I had no idea what she was talking about. But that's when I let her know that I was also a side chick. She simply walked away and said nothing to me. I obviously grabbed my phone and called him right away, but he didn't answer. And she asked me if I want to go with her to talk to him. I was like, sure. I couldn't believe he had a second side chick. I wasn't special anymore because it meant that everything he was doing with me, he was also doing with her. We show up to his place, but nobody was home. He finally messaged me 3 days later. He said he went on vacation with his wife and forgot to tell me. When I confronted him about the second side chick, he said that she was lying. Then I told him I saw all the pictures. Then he said that he would break up with her and stay with me. He even promised that he would leave his wife. At this point, I don't believe anything he says. But I'm so in love with him, and because of my history, there's no way I could ever be interested in anyone else. Should I take him back? I feel like I have no other choice.